frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
So, hello, this is the first live stream we've done since May last year, and today we're going to be building a PC. I made the decision to downsize my PC. Okay, so in theory we are back. I've relocated the router, so in theory we should be fine. It should be able to get the Wi-Fi connection from in the house. But if you weren't here before, hello. So today we are going to be building a PC, and basically the whole thing is I'm downsizing my PC because I'm going to university next year and I don't want to be taking a huge desktop with me. I'd still like to take my desktop though. So yeah, I've got a smaller case, smaller motherboard, same CPU, same GPU. We will have more RAM, although that hasn't arrived yet, so we've just got the old RAM for today. Same power supply. Hopefully, I think it will fit with this GPU, but we'll have to see. Along with some new fans and the same storage. So why don't we get into it? I think... Yeah, we're working. Seemingly. Let's hope it stays that way. So the motherboard I chose for this build was the Gigabyte Ultra Durable A520i AC Wi-Fi motherboard. So it's a socket aim for a motherboard, which means I can use my existing Ryzen 5 5500. But most importantly, it's Mini ITX. In theory, my audio's working? Yep, good. Right. Tell me if it's a bit quiet or anything in the chat. So, this supports the CPU, of course. It's got less features than my old motherboard, which was a B550 M80X. It's got less PCIe slots. It's only got one. It's also only got one M.2 slot, and it only supports PCIe Gen 3, but the CPU doesn't support Gen 4 anyway. So I wasn't too concerned about that. Yeah, and it only has 2 RAM slots and only 6 USB ports compared to 8. So why don't we unbox this? Here we go, so here's our manual-ish. Looks like there's not much in there though. And then here is our motherboard. It's very tiny. This is the first time I've had a Mini ITX motherboard. Then in here, we've got our Wi-Fi antenna. Oh, it's one of the stick-up ones. Good. They'll be much better for where my PC is. Then there's our I/O shield, a two SATA cables, and a fan extension thing, I think. Yeah, so let's start by unboxing the motherboard. Well, unbagging the motherboard. Let's get this out of the way. Hold on, it's just telling me that there's a warning about something. Let's just check. Oh, the bit rate's a bit low. Right, let's just get the bit rate. In fact, I don't think I can adjust that. Right, we'll just leave that as is at the moment. So let's get this motherboard unboxed. So here we are. Right, so the first thing we're going to need to do here is remove these, because I don't need them for my cooler. Oh, but first let's have a look at the ports. So it's got 2 HDMIs, 1 DisplayPort, 4 USB 3, 2 USB 2, a reset button. It looks like it's a battery thing. Ethernet, Wi-Fi, and your audio ports. It's got 2 RAM slots, 4 SATA ports. Yeah. So let's grab our screwdriver. And if you want to know why I made the decisions about any of these, just ask in the chat. There we are, that one's removed. Okay, there we go. So now let's grab our CPU. In fact, I'll just see if we can, in fact, get that bit rate turned up a bit. Let's try. Let's try going to like 3000 kilobits per second. Okay, there we go. Right, so let's get this CPU. So it's the AMD Ryzen 5 5500. It's got 6 cores, 12 threads. How much cache does it have? 19 megabytes of cache. It's unlocked, although you can't overclock with an A520 chipset. 4.2 gigahertz max boost clock, 3.6 gigahertz base clock. And you might be wondering why I'm not going for an AM5 build. Hold on, let's switch the camera here. Just while we're installing the CPU, we're going to make sure that the arrow on the CPU is lined up with the arrow on the motherboard. Just pop it in like that, and then push the latch down. So I can see what's going on with the audio. Is that better? Yeah, I think I had 2 mics running. Hopefully that's better. If it isn't, just let me know. So the reason why I've gone for this rather than getting a new AM5 motherboard and AM5 processor and DDR5 RAM is because it's still just too expensive with my sort of budget to be able to upgrade to AM5 at the moment. There is no CPU with the value of the AMD Ryzen 5 5500 still, and it's 3 years since I bought this CPU. I would love to upgrade to AM5, but I still just can't justify it. Let's just pop these on the ground here. So let's get our CPU cooler on. We'll just be using the stock cooler today. Okay, great, it's much better, the audio. Alright, so let's first get our thermal paste on. So I'm just going to do an X pattern. We'll just do it like that. A warning, when you do take off the heatsink on these, it's quite common for the thermal paste to solidify and stick the CPU to the heatsink. So then that means that your CPU can sometimes, at least on an AM4 socket, that means your CPU can come out when you try and take your heatsink off, and that can be a bit of an issue since there is a risk of bending pins. So just be careful of that if you are wanting to take the heatsink off. Okay, we've got a question here from LOLXD. Are you going to set up Windows or the OS you'll use? So I'll be using Linux Mint. It's already installed on this SSD. It's still it's the same SSD I used in the previous build. Yeah, and I think that's just easier at the moment. Yeah, Linux is my preference. I do have another drive with Windows on it, but I hardly ever use that, only if it's necessary to run Windows programs. So let's install this. Okay, so our CPU fan header is over there. I might actually rotate this around. Let's get your camera angle over here again. In fact, does that work fine? I think that does. Or we could do it like this. Put a loop in it. Plug it in. I'm just going to go with this for now. Alright, let's pop that heatsink on there. Now we'll do, we'll screw it in, making sure to do the string in diagonally. Hold on. What's going on here? I can't reach this. Here we go. And we'll do it not too tight, then we'll go to the other diagonal one. Hold on. Now we can go over to this one. And then the lucky last one. And then we can tighten up the other ones. check this one. Okay, and now we can just plug this connector in over here. I may still switch around that fan orientation. Let's just leave it like that for now. I may change that later. So let's now install our RAM. So currently this is 16 gigabytes of DDR4. This is an ITX motherboard. Okay, why M4? Simply on my budget, I cannot justify AM5 because I'd have to upgrade my CPU to a much more expensive one, and I'd have to upgrade my RAM, but I'm doing that anyway. For a CPU like the AMD Ryzen 5 5500, for that sort of price range, it still doesn't really seem to make sense at the moment financially to upgrade to AM5. I would like to, but there's just no CPUs in my price range at the moment. And this CPU is still doing all of my needs perfectly fine. Suiting all of my needs perfectly fine. Same thing with this GPU. I just don't see any point in spending that extra money. So let's get our RAM sticks. What other builds do I have? So this is my only custom build. I have done another one in the past. This is using parts from that. But it's got a new case, new motherboard, will be new RAM, and new fans. But I've also got a bunch of these older pre-builts, like the Still machine over here, from like 10 years ago. I managed to get them for really cheap. I use them for a whole bunch of projects, and there's even some retro PCs as well. Like, let's see, I'll switch this over. So we've got this one from 1995, which I haven't actually shown in a video yet, and we've also got the iMac G3 along with the Mac and whatnot. So I haven't actually built anything other than, well, I guess this can be considered my second build. But yeah, I don't think, it's not really a fully new build, I suppose. Anyway, let's get this RAM installed. Plus there's a bunch of laptops that are used for projects as well on the channel. I just haven't had that much time recently, although we have been able to release videos every week for the past month at the moment, which is good. So let's get this RAM installed there. First stick in, when you're popping in, make sure the notch aligns on each stick and push it down until you hear 2 clicks. There we go. So now let's install our M.2 SSD. So this is a Crucial P3 512 gigabyte SSD. I'm hoping to upgrade it soon. It's just not at the top of my priorities at the moment. Since I have a server, it's still fine. But when I am leaving to go to university, I might get some more storage. Alright, so let's pop this in. So there we go. Right. So I guess now that that's done, in fact, I'm going to move this fan around. I moved it around this way because I thought it looked better, but it's actually not that great with this cable here. Huh. Well, I'm currently in my last year of school, but next year I'll be going to university, so that'll be interesting. I'll be doing either electrical engineering or computer engineering. So let's get this off. Oh, hang on. This plastic bit has to be pulled off first. And then... Oh wait, no. Oh yeah, that does need to be moved over. Right, let's take these screws out. Because I do want this thing to look somewhat decent, unlike my previous build where I didn't really care. Because my old case was not that great for cable management. This one isn't really going to be either, because it's quite small, but we'll give it a shot. I reckon it goes around that way. Right. Okay, AMD or NVIDIA. Well, if you're wanting the best performance, obviously NVIDIA, but you're going to have to pay a hefty price for it. Generally, I'd go AMD. Their drivers work better on Linux. But if you're wanting the best bang for the buck at the moment, I'd actually say an Intel Arc GPU. And for CPUs, I have to go AMD. They just offer the best bang for the buck and the best performance. Oh, I keep on knocking over this camera. And then Intel's also had some issues with the quality of their processors. Like last year we had the issues with the 14th gen just crashing, I think it was. Yeah. Your live feed just popped up and I was curious. I just finished building a gaming PC myself. Greetings from Canada. Greetings from New Zealand. Thanks for joining us. This was meant to be just a normal video, but I went, why not do a live stream? Just get that screw in. One final screw. Right, and I'll pop this into a loop so that looks neat. Something like that, and then this cover can go on. Yeah, this wouldn't have fit on the other way around. Hopefully that's on properly. And hopefully that'll sit nicer once it's in the case. Okay, so now we get to unbox the new case. So this is the Deepcool CH160. and it's a mini ITX case that doesn't use risers for the GPU, so no added latency, which is great. So let's just shift this all. Oh, let's not do that with a hard drive. Let's shift that all out the way at the moment. I'll grab the knife so we can unbox it. And I'll try not to cut myself. This is very well taped up. So this was the last black version in the country. Right, here we go. Ooh. It's definitely wider than my previous case, I think. Here we go. Ooh. And it's a lot shorter, which is what I'm looking for. I was going to get that case, but I got the Johnsbow D32. I haven't heard of that case. Is it more compact than this one? Anyway, there we go. That is the new case. One of the reasons I actually picked this is because I like to run LAN parties, and it is such a pain in the butt to have to lug the PC around, basically hug it to lug it around. So this one has a handle. And it seems like it's built very well as well. I'm quite pleased with that. I'm going to leave the seal on there for now until we've finished the build so that I don't scratch it, because that's not a good start to having a new case. But it's tempered glass, unlike my real build. Old build, not real build. So my old build had a plastic side panel. Oh, is that a hinged mechanism? Nope, no it isn't. It's just that the seal got a little stuck. So there's our side panel. I'll just pop it on the chair. What are you going to use this PC for? So this PC is going to be used for gaming. That'll probably be its main purpose, because I've got this Mac over here for editing and most other things. Linux actually works a lot better for gaming than macOS, and it can, using Steam Proton, I think it's called, it can run most Windows games, at least the ones that I enjoy anyway. Although I don't play games that much. But the other purpose of this PC will be for running AI models. That's why I'm getting the RAM upgrade, because for gaming 16 gigs is fine at 1080p. But once I once I get the 32 gigs of RAM, which are on their way at the moment, I'll be able to run much larger AI models. Because I just like messing around with that stuff. And I'm sure there will be a bunch of other uses, like virtual machines. I can't run heaps of virtual machines on the Mac because of Apple Silicon. It's great for, of course, day-to-day tasks, but virtual machines, you've got to have a proper PC. What else? Probably Linux testing if I'm programming for Linux. It's just good to have, and I didn't want to sell everything because I knew I would need it. But the main thing about this case, is going to be for LAN parties, having this handle. I like it. It'll make it a lot easier. So that must be all of our screws. Standoffs are already installed. In here we've got our power supply extension. So that runs through this hole up here. And then there's our cables for the power button. Two USB 3 ports, USB-C port, which I won't be able to use. Unfortunately, this motherboard does not have a USB-C port, but this will be... Hang on, does it? No, it doesn't. This will be useful in the future for any future builds. I'm not planning on this case just being for one build. Yeah, you will run into a lot more issues trying to run Epic Games stuff. I've managed to do a workaround to run Rocket League, which seems to work fine. It's using this software called Bottles, but I'm not sure about Fortnite. So yeah, let's get this. We've basically got to completely disassemble this case to be able to build in it. So let's. I'll pop these screws in a safe place, safe-ish place. Let's pop them in the RAM box for now. So let's undo these screws. I hope there's some instructions in there for how to install the power supply, because it seems a bit... It seems to need to be installed in a weird way in this case, because it's so small. Still looks like there could be a little bit of space back there for cable management, but we'll see. And then we get this off. Okay. So we can take this out. Sure, I can change to the other camera. So it's got this mesh stuff. I think it's magnetic. Might not be. No, it doesn't in fact seem to be magnetic, so there's what it looks like. It's very solid, much more solid than my other case. Although it is a bit more expensive than my other case was. Anyway, let's remove... How am I supposed to remove this? Might be screws on the other side. Yep, there are. I feel A-series boards are underrated. As long as it has decent VRM heatsinks and you don't overclock, they're fine for most people. Yeah, I didn't end up overclocking using my old B550 motherboard. And this board seems just as good quality as my ultra durable B550 one. But this was actually the only new... In fact, it was the only ITX AM4 motherboard I could get my hands on in New Zealand. So I didn't really have much choice. There were no used ones available. I guess not many people are selling them or something. So that's how you remove the mesh. You've got to take out the panels. So that might not be the best if you're in a dusty place. because you'd have to disassemble a lot of stuff. But let's pop that over there. And I think this comes off. How does this come off? The front comes off somehow, doesn't it? It might not. I don't think it needs to come off anyway. So how would fans go on there then? I won't be putting a fan in there anyway because I'm using an ATX power supply. And that's for an SFX, isn't it? Okay, I'll just remove this so that we can get... In fact, do we need to? I don't think we need to. Okay, so let's first grab the IO shield. I almost forgot that. It's an easy mistake to make. It seems to be really nice. If I had been able to find a whiteboard for too much more and then a white GPU and whatnot, I probably would have gone for an all-white build. But again, that wasn't possible. So let's pop the IO shield in. Oh, it just goes in here, right. I think that's it. Yeah, that might be it. Might just be how it goes on, right. Can't see how else it would go on. So let's see if I can squeeze in there. Oh! And let's not tip the camera over either. There we go, our IO shield is in. Push all of these out the way. Should be able to get the motherboard in theory. Here we go. Be careful to line the stuff up. Okay, I think. Alright, let's get the screws. So it looks like the book is in this bag. Where did you go with the parts for this build? So my new RAM will be used. This case was new because I couldn't find any used ones. The motherboard was new again because I couldn't find any used ones. This power supply was new back in 2022 when I bought it. What else? This RAM was new when I bought it. That SSD was new when I bought it. Yeah. I did not make a PC part picker, but I could if you want me to. Okay, so let's pop all of these screws in. So let's... Okay, these screws are not the same. I'll just check the book to see which ones are the motherboard screws. Okay, so it's not those ones. just taking a second to find the screws here. Okay, I found one of them. There's a motherboard screw. We need 4 of them. There's a second one. There's a third one. No, it isn't. This is taking forever. And then, where's the 4th one? There we go, 4th one. Hello Texas Nation, you've just joined us. Nice to have you on this, well, have you joined the stream. Right, let's get these screws in. Right, let's try and get so this is going to be a bit of a challenge to cable manage, but we'll give it a good shot. Okay, in theory that should be in properly. And it looks like it is. Great. Okay, what next? I think it's the power supply, isn't it? So let's get that. So this is the same power supply I used in my previous build. It's just a Cool Master 550 watt 80 plus ROMs. Let's just see how this is supposed to be mounted, because it's going to be a bit weird since it mounts at the front of the case. Okay, so it looks like power supply will be looks like the power supply will be oriented this way. I'm just going to check the internet. sorry about that. Still trying to find where the... Okay, so the fan's supposed to mount at the front, which seems slightly odd, but let's do that. So it looks like we have to unscrew these screws here and shift this over here for an ATX power supply. So let's do that. Does the motherboard have Wi-Fi? Yes, I will be using that since my house does not have Ethernet. Let's pop this in here. And then the other screw. Does mean that this ugly sticker is going to be on this side, but whatever. It's just the way it's got to work. Okay, so that's how it's got to fit in. Right. So let's find our screws for that. And then install it. How long have I been doing PC stuff? About 5 years. So pretty much since I was 12. Although my first experience with a computer was when I was 4 years old. So I've had an interest in it for a long time, although I've only really been actually messing with them for about 5 years. Let's grab another screw. Then the third screw over here. Okay, so there's our power supply. That's how the cable's looking. Oh. Probably needed a modular power supply for this one. Anyway, let's get our necessary cables. So I need PCIe for the GPU. It's 24 pin for the CPU, not the CPU, the motherboard. And then let's just see what it says about mounting hard drives. looks like it has to be mounted in here. No, the power supply is not modular, unfortunately. So what stores do we have here to buy PC parts? So the main one's PB Tech. We have other stores, but they don't really sell PC parts so much. And then another one is Computer Lounge. Mighty Ape sells a few things, but yeah, the main ones are Mighty Ape and where I bought this motherboard, Computer Lounge. Right, let's find our 8-pin power. CPU power, there we go. Try and get through the mess. This is going to be a pain in the butt to cable manage. Right, and then that can go in there. Okay, and that should be pretty much it. I don't need Molex. I need a bit more height over this table. Yeah, a lot of the computer stores seem to be going away. Like, I think Dick Smith here and in Australia used to have PC parts or computer parts. They were an electronics store, and then they tried to be like Harvey Norman, which you may have heard of. It's sort of, it has electronics, it has bedding. It's not really an electronics store, and that failed, so they ended up being completely online, and I don't think they stock much of that stuff anymore. What's going on here? Huh. Right, well, okay, that's where it is at the moment. So now let's plug in these. So this is our USB 3. So that can just go in over. Yeah, that's around the right way. That can go in over here. This is becoming quite a tight fit. Well, that didn't sound good. Hopefully that was fine. I'm actually going to take this bottom bit out at the moment. Right, we won't be using the USB-C, unfortunately. Then where's our audio header? Okay, front panel connectors, good. So that goes right into there. And then hopefully I'm not creating a tangle. So those front panel connectors go in. Okay, are we back? Are we back? Let's hope so. Come on. Okay, in theory, Hey, are we back? Are we back? Let's go. Right. I've put the Wi-Fi router outside. So hopefully it can reach the house better, which seems to be working. Okay, welcome back. Let's continue building this. I don't know why that's on there. Okay, so that's what we were doing. We were taking these GPU things out. This isn't coming out very easily. Okay, hopefully some viewers come back. Because this is a 2-slot GPU, we'll take the 2 slots out. Right, let's grab our GPU, the Asus Dual Radeon RX 6600, and hopefully it's not too big, because we might have clearance issues. I'll make it work. Right. So I want that to go around there. Click that open. Okay, it looks like we might actually be putting the GPU in now, because I can't get it in with this here. So let's undo these screws. Yep, we're finally back. Yeah, I've put the Wi-Fi router out the window now, which it seems to actually be a bit more reliable. I think it will, because this power supply does not have the cables right at the end. If it did, then it would be quite a problem. Because I've checked the dimensions and it's about 3mm out of what officially says will fit. So I'm hopeful that will fit. And we can use cable management to get around it. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Did that just pull the plastic thing off the motherboard? At least the pins are still on the motherboard. That ain't good. I can't get off. It seems to be stuck to the USB 3 connector. Knife's probably not the best thing to try and get this off. Screwdriver. Yeah, let's try and get off. Didn't expect that to happen, that's not good. Hopefully it'll go on just fine. Hopefully. Yeah, these USB 3 connectors I've heard can be a problem. Right, let's try and get it back on. That was not supposed to happen. that happened. Hey, right. Okay, that thing's back on. I think this might be a slightly too big or something. Okay, so let's get this GPU in. Might also have to get these cables out of the way. It's going to be a tight fit, but I think she'll get in. Okay. Just getting it in's a bit of a problem, but I think we'll be okay. The GPU's gonna work. Right, that's good. That's good. Okay. Yeah, let's... We haven't actually broken anything yet. So this is a bit of a weird order to do this in, but it seems to be the only way. Yeah, you can see that I haven't built enough. That was a screwdriver. You can see that I haven't built in a small form factor case before. Like this. I think I lost a screw as well, which is fine-ish, because we can grab another one. I'll find the other one later. Well, that's the worst part of this build done, I think. Now that the GPUs and everything else is going to work eventually. Might have to just shift the GPU a little bit. Yeah, so about the airflow, I'm going to be mounting a fan up here. There's going to be a fan here. This GPU can take in air right through the mesh at the bottom. So this is all mesh at the bottom here. The whole thing's mesh other than the side panel. So I'm thinking that we should be okay. But let's see. So I'll get this SATA cable through. Okay, so this GPU would not fit in here with a modular power supply. And I think I might have to take it out again. We'll see. We'll see. Right. 24-pin cable in. Then now let's get our 8-pin CPU power connector. Pop it down through there. Okay, right, that's looking a lot better. There's actually more space below the GPU than there was in my previous case, which was an M80X case. and I'll use the end connector on this one. Right. Okay, so that's all in, and I am actually going to have to use one SATA connector because we need to get our hard drive installed. I'll just take this out. So I think the hard drive just mounts on here like this. Yeah. Or does it? Yeah, it mounts on the side like that. Right. Let's get a hard drive screws. Where are they? Here. So this sort of build is where multiple M.2 slots would make sense, I think. Okay, let's get this mounted. So this is essentially going to cover the hard drive, not the hard drive, the power supply. It's going to cover the power supply. Those screws are too big for this hard drive. Yeah. Oh, these might be fan screws. Yeah, these littler ones look more like it. Yeah, those will be the ones. Wait, but those are different. Okay, it'll still be those smaller ones. Now that's too big. Okay, one thing Deepcool can improve with these screws is by putting them in separate bags. Okay, in theory, that should just go in. Oh. This definitely is not the easiest build. Oh. And it's the wrong direction from where I want it in anyway. Right, let's try that again. So it's mounted on there, like that. I think these screws are too big as well. What's going on here? Are there any smaller screws? Looks like that one might be smaller. No, it's the same. I'll try it again. goes like that. Then, in theory, what's going on here? Why are these hard drives, supposedly hard drive screws, not working? Okay, are there any other screws that could potentially... I'm just going to tip them all out here for a moment. Okay, the hard drive screw still isn't... Yeah, I might have to tape it. But there are some screws that look like they might work. Oh my goodness. Okay, I found screws that work. They're supposedly motherboard screws. But they work. I'm just going to use these. Because at least they work, and they are in the case, so I'm going to use them. Right, so that's going to be mounted like that. Okay. Right, let's get these screws in. The screws that actually fit. Oh, just dropped it on the floor. Right, let's try and get this in again. Okay, that's going in. Good. Now
Damn.
okay, it looks like we're back, hopefully. The problem is that this garage is essentially a Faraday cage, because this is all metal roofing. So let's get back to it. Okay, so now I guess I should probably put the fans on wherever they went. Here they are. So these are height flow FE12. They're not RGB, but I wasn't really looking for that anyway. So I'll just mount this back one first. And I might be able to mount it on the top. We'll see. Although I think it will probably be one. Right. I'll grab these fan screws. Okay, are we back up? Looks like it. Right, I'm not going to worry about the Wi-Fi now. This will be, because this is recording, it will be uploaded as its own thing to YouTube. Because of all of these Wi-Fi issues. Right, let's get this in. So we have to use this adapter from this really small connector on the motherboard to be able to connect the fan. Everything about this computer is small. Geez, how do you get this in? Right, and then this can go in here, and I'll cable tie that up shortly. I'll do all of the cable management last. Right. Now let's see if can I get both top fans in there? No. So I'll pop this one. Where should I pop it? This one might have to go right at the front. Yeah. That's what it's got to be. Where's my other fan header? It's all the way down there, so I'll pop it like this. Then that can go down there and reach that fan header. Right. This is a very dense little computer. Alright, let's get these screws in. Okay, it just fits. Just. Or can it go? Right, I'm going to do that. I might need to get some slimmer fans, but that's what it's going to be for now. It just fits. It is touching the CPU fan, so I am going to get a slimmer fan for that, but I'm going to make it work for now. Everything in this case is only just fitting. Only just. I'm going to try. I'll get this one screwed in first. I'll just get the screw on the screwdriver. Right. Oh. Let's not do that. Now let's try that one. Okay, 2 more screws. That's not the screw holder. Okay. Right, so that fan is installed. It is hitting the CPU fan. It's not the best, but it's the only way it's going to work, but I will have to get slimmer fans for the long term. So now comes the least fun part, or the most fun part if you're up for a challenge. Cable managing this thing. Okay, so that's in. So first I think it's going to be to get rid of all of the excess cable over here. So I'll just grab a zip tie. And then we can do this. Something like that. Probably stuff it down there. Okay. Right, let's get the zip tie. This is not the nicest cable bundle in the world, but it will do. I might get a second one around there. Hold on a moment. Okay, let's continue. Nearly there. Let's just get this cut off like that. Okay, another zip tie to just go around the rest of this. Right. Let's get that tied in. There we go. Now cut that off. Hopefully get it to stick in there. I'm actually on the SATA cable. Yeah, the SATA cable's not in the way of that. Right. Okay, that's nicely in there, I think. Now that can go back in there. Right, so let's get this all cable managed. Just check there's no loose screws in there because I've had it before where I've worked on a computer and I've accidentally left a loose screw in there and it's killed the computer. And that is the only computer that's died under my watch. So that was just a pre-built. It didn't cost me much, but still not a very good mistake to make. Okay, I think I might have to get the bottom panel in. But I think that's the best cable management I'm gonna get, since there's no channels. And then we've got to add all of this in somehow. Right, how is this gonna go? Might have to run each cable through here. Okay, I'm going to take the GPU out for this part since we know the sizing now. So I'm going to run these cables through, then put the GPU in, then plug the cables in. Oh no. This is not an easy build, although I'm sure there's much harder ones. It's nice and compact though. Right. Okay, so let's get all of these cables through behind here. So we've got that one. Now these ones. Okay, I think it's all through there. So I have to leave that out for now. Right, and now that all of this has to be... Okay, so that doesn't need to be plugged in, that can go in the bundle. Over here. Eventually. Let's get the GPU back in, since those cables are now run. We're in the slot? Yep. Okay. Now that just needs to be screwed back in. And then another screw. Okay. Right, so now I can try and get these cables plugged in. HD audio, right, so that goes just in there. Right. And I'll actually pop that around the other side. This is turning into a bit of a mess. Yeah, sit down. Right. Okay. Let's get the rest of this in here. Then there's the front panel. USB, so that just goes in there eventually. I'll just make sure that that isn't all tangled around here, like this. To there, right. This way, then somehow it's gonna get in there. I think that's in. Looks like it on. Right, that's in. Now there's the... Where is it? There's one more thing, and that's the front panel buttons. That can go in there. Okay, we're very close. Now all we need is a couple of zip ties. looks decent. Yeah. So I'll tie that to that cable. And that might just be the best it's gonna be. Okay. Let's get this snipped off. Oh. Okay. As it turns out, it wasn't actually plugged in. Now it is. Right. Okay, now we have to deal with this mess, and that'll be it. Hopefully it won't be too long now. Probably 5 minutes or so. So that should be able to just go in there, like that. Possibly. Might not be able to. And those cables can all be tied up there. And then SATA cable can just be pushed through there. In fact, I might bring it through here and then into there. Right, let's try and get a cable tie around here. Oh, let's get this in as well. Switch over to this camera. Right. So many cables. Okay, well, that looks pretty decent. I think that's just what's going to have to be. Right, let's stick this in from the back. Okay, that's in. It's actually in. Right. I think that looks okay. It's probably the best I can do. Oh. I'll see you later. Thanks for sticking around this long. If you want to, the rest of the video should be up tomorrow. So, have a good sleep. Right. Let's try and get this out somehow without scratching. Might need smaller pliers. I will do that later. I don't like that, so this thing is going to be jammed right back through there. Oh, I forgot to put this on before doing the cable management. Well, hopefully I still can, otherwise it's a bit of a problem. Okay, good. I still can put it on. Right. Okay, so let's get these screwed in. It's all coming together. Right. This poor SATA cable. And then this one over here. Right. I'll just try and get this stuff in there. This is the USB-C cable. But this motherboard does not support USB-C, so unfortunately I cannot use it. Right. Okay, let's get these side panels on and boot it up. Because I think that's it. I think that's the best we're going to get. So that's how we're looking at the moment. There's a very dense build. So let's get these side panels on. Well, first, there's one more thing. Where is it? This cable needs to be run first, and really before this goes on. Oh dear. I might see if I can just take this screw off. And do this. Right. That's good. try and get in. Might have to undo this screw as well. Right, and then that can be switched on. Okay, and then that just gets routed out the back like that. Now these screws go back on. Right, now let's get this. That's the top panel. I think it goes on before the side panel. Right, so this goes on here. Oh dear, so this is a bit high. Looks like I might just have to try and jam it on there anyway. Yeah, well that's just how it's gotta be. In theory I can get screws in. Oh, that wouldn't have been good for the hard drive. Alright, and now this side can go on. Oh wait, back can go on. She ain't light. Right. Okay. Now for this side panel. Should just slide on. Right, let's get these side panels on. And now the other side panel. Get this on. Okay, that seems to be on. So let's get screwed in. And that is it. A very dense little box. So I'll get all of these screws tidied up and then we can do a test. Check that it's actually working. But that was a much longer build than my original one and a much larger M80X case. Right. Okay, we've got these screws in. Then these can all go in the motherboard box. And everything else can just go on the floor for now. And then we can power it up. This can all be cleared afterwards. Oh. Right. I'll get the monitor. So let's get this all plugged in. And I'll move over this way. Let's pop the PC over here. Put this in here. Oh dear. I'm really hoping that does work the first time, because otherwise it's going to be annoying to take it all apart again. HDMI can go into HDMI. Let's get in the Wi-Fi antenna. Where is it? Here. Whew. That build took a long time. And it just sits on top like that. How neat. Right. Now if this monitor is turned on, I'll plug in and it can be powered up. And then I can take the seal off. This monitor is always a bit finicky to get power on. This is not the actual one I'm using an MSI one, 100Hz 1080p. This isn't as good as that. Go on. Go on. It never works when you want it to. This is taking way too long. I might need to grab another monitor. Hey, right. So now it's decided to work. Okay, I'll plug in and we can do the moment of truth. Plugged in. Fires right up. In theory. Might need to shift to DVI. Might be doing memory training. Hey, right. New CPU initialized. It works. Right. That's great. Where did I put that keyboard? Just let me find it. Okay, I've got the keyboard. Can't find the mouse switch. Okay, found the mouse that has the dongle. It's quiet. Yes, I will reset the TPM. Hello? Front, yeah. USB ports may not be working. Oh wait. Okay, what's it doing? Right, let's take this peel off. It is a very stealthy looking build. Okay. Looks like we're booting into Linux Mint. Right. Okay, it works. Now check both our front USB ports are working. Hold on. That one doesn't seem to be working, but that one is. Okay, let's yeah, I'm going to leave it at that for this stream. So I think that's it. So here we are, we've got a working computer. Took 2 hours. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Remember to like, share this video with your friends, comment and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Frankly, my